I want you to hit me as hard as you can. Go!
5 years ago, director Ridley Scott returned to the Alien franchise with his highly anticipated prequel, Prometheus. And the results were, well, it was at least better than Resurrection. But next weekend, Ridley Scott is back to hopefully give us the Alien prequel that we all wanted the first time, with Alien Covenant. And with Neil Blomkamp's Alien sequel more or less not gonna happen, thanks a lot, Chappie, it's all up to Ridley Scott to finally give us an Alien movie that'll live up to his original classic and James Cameron's equally beloved sequel. But there's been plenty of sci-fi horror flicks trying to capitalize on that alien magic in the meantime, one of the most famous being 1985's Lifeforce. Not only was this flick co-written by the co-writer of the first Alien, Dan O'Bannon, but it was also directed by the legendary Tobe Hooper, who was just coming off directing Poltergeist. And after Steven Spielberg claimed he did most of the work behind that movie, Tobe was eager to remind audiences he could make a great flick all on his own, and agreed to direct this project from infamous producers Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus, whose Cannon Film studio was behind some of the worst movies of the 1980s, from He-Man to Superman, from Chuck Norris to Charles Bronson, and who could forget Lou Ferrigno throwing that bear into space? And with this adaptation of Colin Wilson's novel, The Space Vampires, Golan and Globus were eager to prove they could make a sci-fi epic right on par with Alien. But after it lost the box office battle that weekend to Ron Howard's Cocoon, the flick came and went with little impact, and Cannon Films resumed being a laughingstock. But it's gained a sizable cult over the years, so I shall find out for myself if this intergalactic thriller deserves that audience. And just to make things clear right out of the gate, no, this movie has no relation to the NES game of the same name. And no, performing the Konami code while watching this movie will not give you 30 extra copies of the movie. So we open in the darkness of space, as a joint crew of British and American astronauts aboard the space shuttle Churchill approach the tail of Halley's Comet, as led by Colonel Tom Carlson, played by Steve Railsback, right in that sweet spot of his career between playing Charlie Manson and starring in Nuki. The crew finds a spaceship hidden in the comet's tail, so Carlson and his crew go out into that spaceship only to find hundreds of dead creatures who resemble bats, as well as 3 perfectly preserved human bodies in suspended animation under glass. 2 males, 1 female, and all 3 of them completely nude.
I said we found a young girl.
Girl? You mean human?
Definitely humanoid.
I'd say she's perfect. I've been in space for 6 months, and she looks perfect to me.
Johnson, what do we tell you about popping a boner in your spacesuit? Oh, dear God! Johnson's boner just tore through his spacesuit! He's losing oxygen! Oh, no! His fucking head exploded! We then cut to 30 days after the spaceship recovers the bodies, and Mission Control has lost contact with Churchill. So a rescue mission is set up to check on the crew, only to find the crew and the inside of the ship have been burnt to a crisp, with the humanoid aliens the only thing left intact. When the bodies are brought into the Space Center in London for an autopsy, one of the guards finds himself mysteriously drawn towards the female alien, only for her to wake up, bring the guard in for a kiss, and drain the life force out of his body to leave the guard's withered corpse, with the nude alien making an escape from the building.
Don't worry, a naked girl is not going to get out of this complex.
After all, that is the motto that we have on our sign, for some reason. But the alien easily does away with the other guards, and walks out to wreak some havoc on London.
Ow, 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 ow.
So they call in a guard from the Special Air Service by the name of Colonel Kane, played by Peter Firth. By the way, the part of Colonel Kane was originally supposed to be played by Michael Caine. Not even bullshitting you. Kane and the Space Center's doctors discover that this female alien is actually a kind of vampire, with her victims' withered corpses coming back from the dead, needing to suck the life out of people themselves in order to keep living, or else they will turn to dust.
He too needs feeding.
And that, my friends, ends the story of the least successful vampire of all time. Bleh, I'm going to suck your blood. Oh, God damn it! Then they find out that Churchill's escape pod has landed back on Earth, with Colonel Carlson inside and still alive. And Carlson tells them that his crew on the spaceship got killed off one by the space vampires, which forced him to blow up the inside of the ship so that the vampires could never reach Earth. But now that they have, Carlson uses the psychic link he now has with the female vampire to find out she's taken possession over the body of a nurse who works for a psychiatric doctor played by a pre-Picard Patrick Stewart.
How do you do, Home Secretary? I'm Dr. Armstrong, director of the hospital.
Speaking of vampires, how has Patrick Stewart looked virtually the same in the 32 years since he did this movie? Does he have a form of Benjamin Button disease? Carlson finds out that the vampire's soul has transferred over to the doctor's body, so he and Kane put the doctor to sleep so that Carlson can confront this alien soul sucker one-on-one.
Up the ramp, sir.
Uh-oh, Professor X is coming to class drunk again.
Just play on your phones or something today, students. I've got a wicked hangover.
And by the time you see Steve Railsback smooching with Patrick Stewart, smacking him around, and calling him a bitch,
Listen, you bitch. I'll keep you in the state for weeks if I have to.
you start to realize that maybe this plot is a tad too ridiculous to take seriously. Yet for a B-movie about naked space vampires, this flick goes full bore in its production value. The special effects created by Star Wars' John Dykstra are really top-notch. The movie is photographed beautifully in 70mm, and though the animatronic vampires look a little bit like if the Muppets were redesigned by Guillermo del Toro, they still reek of effort. So when you pair this batshit crazy story with some superb visuals, you get an irresistibly entertaining piece of cheesy cinema. Especially near the end of the film where the vampire curse spreads all over London, and shit really starts flying off the rails, until the lead doctor discovers how to kill off the head vampires and lift the curse.
How did you kill him, Philada? How?
The old way, Carlson. A leaded metal shaft penetrating not through the heart, but through the energy center 2 inches below the heart.
Ah yes, that old cliched execution of vampires that we all remember from those old Dracula movies. You stab the vampire with the leaded metal shaft made of iron through the energy center 2 inches below their heart. We all know that. And the concept of an alien who uses men's horniness to kill its victims is certainly not a bad idea, but its execution here is just plain silly. But thanks to its great effects work and relentlessly moving pace, you sure as hell can't say it's not fun to watch. So though this flick sure as hell qualifies as an awfully good movie, it's got a lot of genuinely great qualities to it too. And on top of it all, the 3-picture deal that Tobe Hooper signed with Cannon Films to do this movie also allowed him to make the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And really, doesn't that more than anything justify the making of Lifeforce, other than the alien sweet boobalas? I would think not. This is a beer hunt, man! Game over, man! Game over! No, the game is far from over, as we drink in memory of Bill Paxton to begin playing the awfully good drinking game. Take a shot or drink every time a horny dude goes gaga over the sight of the female alien.
She's pulling her skirt over her knees.
You know, it's a sign of a truly considerate driver when you're able to keep looking at the road while you're feeling up some lady at the same time. Don't cop a feel and drive. A message from the Safety Council. They spot the alien spaceship.
The only way to describe it is it's like a giant umbrella.
Oh, an umbrella, you say? Well, clearly that means that Mary Poppins has made her way up to space. Or maybe it's Yondu. They kill off another vampire.
Here I go.
Oh boy, I've heard you evacuate your bowels once you die, but this is ridiculous! You see a reappearance of one or both of the 2 male vampires, one of whom was originally supposed to be played by Billy Idol, but I guess having them played by the brothers from Spandau Ballet over here works too. And take a double shot, not just when you see a sort of cameo from David Bowie. Psst, David, I think you're in the wrong 80s vampire movie. But when you see Patrick Stewart puking up blood. You know, I'm starting to think that this movie is just an elaborate adaptation of that screenplay that Patrick Stewart said he was writing in that episode of Extras.
I get them into the helicopter, and I'm flying the helicopter, and I see this beautiful girl, and I think I'd like to see her naked, and so all her clothes fall off. And she's scrabbling around to get them back on again, but even before she can get her knickers on, I've seen everything. You know, I've seen it all.
Okay. It's a comedy, is it?
No.
And on the nudie watch, what else can I say but that the female space vampire is completely naked through almost all of her screen time in this movie. Kudos to the 19-year-old French actress who played her, Mathilde May, who would later go on to star in a movie called The Tit and the Moon. Well, that makes sense to me. She's got 2 tits, as well as a moon. On the enjoyableness continuum scale from Bull to Bruce, Lifeforce goes to show that in space, no one can hear you have sex with a naked space vampire, and burst out of its chest an 8 out of 10. This alien is less of a xenomorph and more of a yes-morph. I'm Jesse Schaefer, JoBlo.com, and forget about making any more alien movies. The time has come for us to make another Lifeforce movie. And this time around, we get Patrick Stewart to play the sexy nude female alien. Doesn't that sound awesome to you, Sir Patrick?
No! No!
JoBlo, he sure likes to drink a lot. JoBlo